welcome back. We're here in the second segment of our program today with Roy O'Connor. Roy is our resident who serves on our board of directors. We always have one resident who is our representative to the board of directors. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
We're glad you're here.
Good to see you.
How long have you been serving in this position?
For 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
So you've learned a lot in that time.
I think so. Yeah.
That's terrific. Good.
Yeah.
That's quite a service that you provide to us all representing us. I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I'm sure it's a good education for you.
It is, and but I enjoy doing it. I like working with the people, and
Good.
we have a great group of people on our board.
Great.
Very professional, very dedicated.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So it's been really good.
Let me ask you a question that you and I were just talking about before the cameras rolled, and that was, what is the difference between the board of directors and the management of Greenspring?
Well, number one, you have to understand that we are a separate not-for-profit corporation, Greenspring Incorporated.
Okay.
And Greenspring has a board of directors, of which I'm a member, the only resident member, and our charter bylaws requires that. And the board hires the management company. We have hired the Erickson Company to manage Greenspring. So the executive director and all the department directors are actually Erickson employees, okay? And we pay them a fee for that each year.
We pay Erickson a fee for that.
Exactly. It comes from our revenue, our monthly fees to cover that. But it's really a good question, and I've tried to talk about it before, but you know, we have lots of new people joining us all the time, so I don't want to be repetitive, but basically the board's job is really to govern the operation, whereas management is actually responsible to manage the day-to-day operation. So what does that mean? Well, I spoke about this a little bit at the last general session with the residents. That, you know, number one, we talk about governance, we talk about looking at short-term and long-term. I would say the board is more concerned with the long-term health of the community, whereas we still want to be aware of the short-term, you know, things that are happening, but it's really, we rely on the management company to actually carry out these detailed plans.
So if I'm concerned about the fact that my green beans for supper last night weren't as warm as I would like for them to have been, I shouldn't go to the board of directors to complain about that.
Not at all. Not at all.
That's why we hire the management company.
Exactly. I think to put it to an extreme, I mean, the board is really kind of looking at it from 30,000 feet, okay?
Right.
Whereas the management company is right there and on the ground level. So the management comes up with proposed changes. The board approves the changes. The management company comes up with the budget. The board approves the budget. But the board is looking really at the long-term stability of the community. We are also concerned about the and when I talk about stability, I'm talking about particularly financial stability, so that our current residents can afford to live here. Again, we're targeting, you know, the middle class for our residential population. We also have to ensure we're complying with all of the rules and regulations that apply to running senior housing. Okay?
So there are rules and regulations at a national level?
State and national.
There are state regulations and national regulations which our board of directors must follow as they do their job.
Absolutely. Each board member has what I call a duty of care. In other words, what would a reasonable person do in that situation?
Okay.
And we got to make sure that that happens. And so we're overseeing that again. We're governed from a distance, but we have to ensure that, particularly in Garden Ridge and in our continuing care facility, where we're dealing with a lot of federal monies, state monies, Medicare, certified home health. Okay.
Right.
Those are funds, and there's rules, regulations, laws that come with that. Okay?
Right.
So we have to make sure that our Erickson Company, which we've chartered to manage it for us, is carrying out those laws.
So the board of directors is overseeing the management company.
Overseeing, absolutely.
I'm really glad to know that, because I think a lot of people really are confused, and they think that Erickson owns our community, but that is not the case.
No, and the nice thing about it is that we are a separate not-for-profit corporation. For those who've been here a while, when we went through the bankruptcy, for example, none of our funds were impacted at all. The Erickson Company is what went through the bankruptcy. We actually had all our own funds. We own all our buildings, ground, and equipment. Okay, so nothing is touched. And also, being a not-for-profit, we don't have any shareholders or anything. All the money stays in our corporation. It can't go to Erickson. It can't go to another community.
And I think that is a really, really common misconception. I often hear, we have some people that get a little judgmental, I'll say, and I'm sure you hear as I do, well, they're lowering the quality of the green beans because that puts extra money in their pocket. And I try to say, no, I don't think that's the case.
Absolutely not, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, you say, what are the board responsibility? Another requirement is that we have an awareness of what the resident concerns and issues are. So we try to get that through management. We get that by, we'll visit with the resident council whenever the board is here, spend some time. And then I serve on the council. So one of my key roles is to at least be ready to comment to them, here's what I think the residents would think about that.
So you're a liaison between the resident council and the board of directors.
Well, from all the residents, not just the council.
Yeah.
And I think I get most of I get good input from the council. I sit in on their work sessions, their general meetings, and I do attend a lot of things like that. But even just, day to day, at the table, just talking to people one-on-one.
Yeah, that's where you really get the news.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the concerns.
Right.
Who are the people on the board of directors? I know they come to us once a year. We have a meeting coming up soon where we'll see all the board of directors. But where do these people come from? How do they end up on our board?
I'll tell you, it's really been a privilege to get to know them and work with them the last 3 years. Our board chair is Jim Anders, and he is a vice president of operations for Krieger Institute up in Baltimore that does a lot of work with children and disadvantaged children.
So how did he become a member of our board?
Well, he was elected to that position. Jim is actually one of our oldest members. He's probably been with different boards, National Senior Campuses and Green Spring, for over 20 years. Okay.
And who elected him?
Well, basically, we have what we call a self-perpetuating board. The board has a nominating committee of 3 members. They interview candidates to come on the board. So, example, 3 years ago when they advertised there was an opening for the board, I applied to it along with 4 other residents. All 5 of us were interviewed, and then they informed me they had selected me to be that representative. So then within the board, the members, then there's an executive committee made up of the president, the vice president of the board, who is Jackson Bain, a public relations man from Alexandria. Great guy.
Right.
The secretary, which is myself, I'm the secretary of the board, and then the treasurer, Eileen Erstead, who was a CPA, a previous CFO of different companies. So they become the executive committee, make the appointments, and that type of thing. It's not actually an election among the board, but the election has to do with the board selecting the members to come on, first of all.
So the board kind of reaches out into the community, not our
and
community,
also
into
outside
the
community as they add members to it.
Okay.
Again, since I've been on the board, we added, for example, Stephanie Reel. She is the vice president of technology for Johns Hopkins University Hospital System and University. I mean, she has a very, very senior job there, and she's been great. I mean, we've been going through all these changes, with DOSPON and everything. And so she's been a great person. And so they try to get a variety of people on the board.
A variety of expertise.
Different skills in different areas.
Are board members paid?
Board members are paid.
They are
absolutely.
paid?
Yeah, board members are paid. And each year you can look in the 990 that's published. It's a federal document.
The financial report?
And it shows the pay that is paid out to each of the members.
Okay,
yes.
and that's available to us through the management office?
Yeah, you can stop in there. There's a board reading book. That's a good question. And maybe people don't know about it, but there's a book up there, and it's got the 990s. It's got our bylaws. It's got the strategic plans. It's all kinds of information that's in there.
So when people are looking for information and coming up with theories about what's going on, that's kind of a good place to refer them and say, why don't you go and read the facts?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The actual marketing and management agreement that we have is there. Okay. So,
excellent. So if you want to know how it works, go and read how it works.
I think that could be a good first step.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the board here
yes.
is also a part of another level of a board,
yes.
correct?
Right.
Can you explain that to us?
What we have is we have 3 regions in the National Senior Campuses. There's 16 communities.
Now, what is National Senior Campuses?
National Senior Campuses is a supporting board, so that when we got started, okay, they were the board to help set us up.
Okay.
They're a not-for-profit. I think it was in 2006 that they actually came about. John Erickson, started the original community over 30 years ago. Then they had Oakcrest up near Baltimore.
Right.
And Oakcrest actually was the sponsoring community for Greenspring, okay?
Okay.
And then they started to add more communities. And Oakcrest finally said, whoa, that's too much work for us, so they established this supporting board called National Senior Campuses.
Okay.
So that they could have support as you get started up, all the know-how that you need to have to run a community like ours. And so that board exists today, and they're responsible for the governance over all 16 communities. And that board is made up of around, I think it's 12 people right now. Basically, it's the regional chairs. We have 3 regions that serve on that. They have 7 standing committees. And if I get going too fast on it, you let me know.
I'm trying to process it all here.
We have 7 standing committees, like the Budget Committee, the Investment Committee, which I serve on as a member, Diversity Committee, Audit Committee, and so on. Each of the chairs of those National Senior Campus committees is on the National Senior Campus Board.
So all of our board members also serve on committees of the National Senior Campuses group?
Well, many of them do. Now, our board, we actually have 11 members on the Greenspring board. 5 of them are in National Senior Campuses.
Okay.
Okay. The other 6 are not. Okay. Now, that board of 11 people, and I've mentioned this before in the past, they actually govern the 4 communities in what we call the Southern region now. We have Riderwood, Oakcrest Village, Greenspring, Ashby Pond. So 2 in Maryland, 2 in Virginia.
Okay.
Soon we'll have another one in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
So they govern that. And the only difference between each of those community boards is the resident director. In other words, it's 10 people, same board governs over those 4 communities. And then when they come to each community, the resident director is in addition to that.
So there's something here that I knew. We just have 2 minutes left, so I want to ask this quickly, but maybe others are as confused as I. We have our board. The board hires Erickson. Yet this National Senior Campuses group is, let me see if I can say this and tell me if I'm right. It is a group that is comprised of board members from many of the Erickson communities,
yes.
But Erickson, as the management company, is a different entity.
Yes. So no member of the Erickson company can serve on the board.
Okay.
And vice versa.
That's probably the best explanation.
Completely separate, right.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's good.
So it's a lot of territory to cover, but one thing I would mention is I have an article that's coming out in the Villager, I think this week. I hope it's going to be published soon.
We'll look
to
forward
try to
to
explain some of these things, to the residents. But it's an ongoing, discussion. But I find that the board people we have are very, very dedicated to the mission, and very good people to work with. And most of them are all very busy in their own careers. This is not their only job.
And that's what impressed me during last year's open meeting, that, look what these folks do in their real world.
Right, exactly. But, and it's a really good cross-section. We have some changes that are going to be coming over the next couple of years. You can read about that. But I think the thing is, as we grow, in other words, as the National Senior Campuses grows, they have to get to be more efficient, more effective. So I'm excited about the changes coming.
That's good.
And yet, we'll still be represented, okay? We still have our own Greenspring board in that sense. We'll make decisions about Greenspring. But yet, we have the benefits of having some consistency over and sharing of ideas and information,
and sharing of how
rather than
problems are handled. We are out of time, and but thank you for the education. I've learned a lot.
Okay, it's my pleasure.
And we hope to see you again soon. We'll look forward to your article in the Villager. Tell me quickly, is it May? What?
May, this
May
week.
25th?
May 25th. Board town hall meeting in the theater.
In the theater.
2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then afterwards at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a little meet and greet. So they can say hello to the other members that come.
Good.
Not the whole board will be here, but there'll be at least 5. I think.
Good.
Yeah.
We encourage you all to be there. We have just a couple of other things to tell you today. I hope I have time to do so here.